do and how well we do it. And, I've put a massive effort in. I think now it must be getting on for 7 years that we've been, talking about the magnetic North Pole and its migration and bringing it to people's attention that this is a massive anomaly and a very rare one that takes place on our Earth. Last time, you know it, guys. I don't need to keep saying it. It's 780,000 years ago when this Earth last went through a full magnetic reversal. And we're back in that time now in our lives, observing a magnetic pole reversal. And we really don't know what's going to be on the flip side of this. We don't know what's going to happen when that magnetic North Pole crosses a total distance of 40 degrees over the northern hemisphere and starts to go into them weak field lines. But I will tell you this, is that these so-called experts, right, don't really know what it is they're observing, and yet they've got all the data to hand to make some predictions. But I'm going to do that in this video. I'm going to demonstrate something to you guys, and I'm also probably going to be the first person that's going to break some news to you with regards to where the magnetic North Pole is right now. So to do that, I'm going to pull up, the intensity map of magnetism over the Earth, so it covers the northern and southern hemisphere. I just want to demonstrate something to you and, just clarify something, because it may come to a surprise to a few of you guys out there that the magnetic North Pole is already in Siberia, and even in some regards leaving the region of Siberia, travelling further east. So let's just show you why that is the case. So guys, we're looking at the magnetic intensity map, which was put out by the Swarm mission over in the European Space Agency. And what we're looking at over the northern hemisphere is, first of all, one magnetic North Pole over this region and another magnetic pole over this region. So we have two magnetic poles over the northern hemisphere, and as you can see, guys, we have two over the southern hemisphere. So right now our planet Earth has four magnetic poles, one in Canada over the northern hemisphere and one already in Siberia, and as you can see, it is well over Siberia and moving further easterly. So how do I know that there is two magnetic poles right now? Simply because where our compasses are pointing to is in this region here. Now if you get two magnets and separate them and have a look at where your compass, when you bring it towards those magnets, points, it's going to point slap bang in between the two magnets if they're equally weighted in their magnetic strength. But as you can see, the pole over Siberia has more intensity. It is well into the 60 nanotesla range, and the one in Canada is slightly less. So the pole is going to be slightly more towards Siberia in this case. So what we are actually tracking with our equipment isn't the poles itself, because the pole is already in Siberia and there's another pole in Canada. What we're tracking is the intensity in between the two poles. Now, what's happening? It's simple. As you can see, the poles are splitting apart over the northern hemisphere, and when they do, they're going to reconfigure. They're going to race, these poles are going to race to their antipoles, like ordinary magnets would do. If you've got two magnets in your hand, the north is going to be attracted by the south, and we can see that the North Pole on this intensity chart is pulling towards the South Pole, and you can see that there's a massive South Pole over, the lower right hand region on that chart. You can see that the actual intensity is massive, and the area which it covers is also large as well. we don't know, looking at this, when these fragment, but when they do, they are going to snap to their antipoles at some point, and that is going to probably be when they reconfigure where the new poles are going to be on this planet. But right now, we are seeing the two north poles tear apart, and they will be attracted by their antiparts, which are up in the southern hemisphere of this Earth. You know, guys, I do feel a little bit disheartened that, you know, our observatory is not being credited more for what we've done. I just want to say, you know, 2 years ago, I came out and made the announcement that over the northern hemisphere and over the southern hemisphere was two poles. So there's two in the northern hemisphere, two in the southern hemisphere. When I came out and made that announcement, I was laughed at and ridiculed. Now, you know, these organisations are accepting that fact. Clearly, if you read this part of this article, the location of the North Magnetic Pole appears to be governed by two large-scale patches of magnetic field. It's not two large scales of magnetic field. This is two separate poles, guys. But it says one beneath the one is beneath Canada and the other one is beneath Siberia. University of Leeds geomagnetic Phil Livermore told a recent American Geophysical Union meeting the Siberian patch is winning the competition. These aren't patches, these are poles. And if you just do the experiment with two magnets, separate them and get your compass and see where it points, it will point at neither of the magnetic poles, or in your case, neither of the magnets. It will point at the intensity region in the centre of those. And if you put two magnets on the right side and one on the left, and then a magnetic field viewer like I did 2 years ago on this channel, if you just go back into the history of the videos that we've done, you'll see that even the pattern matches the northern hemisphere that Swarm's chart shows us. So right now, guys, your compass isn't pointing at either of the poles on this planet, it's pointing at a region in between the two. And the magnetic North Pole, or one of the magnetic North Pole, is already in Siberia, and the other one is in Canada. But the stronger one out of the two is the Siberian pole, and that is being pulled by the large South Pole on that chart that I just showed you. And, you know, the reason why we're seeing an uptick in the behaviour in the magnetic North Poles at the moment is they are pulling apart from each other. And I predict that when it does get to the 40-degree mark, that we're going to see, first of all, the poles, or the Siberian pole, enter the weak field lines, and we could see a dislocation of the two poles over the northern hemisphere, and things are going to start to get moving very quickly from that point on with regards to this pole shift. That northern hemisphere Siberian pole is going to race towards its antipole in the southern hemisphere of this Earth, and at that point there's going to be, you know, another dislocation with the south poles and one with the north poles, and we're going to then see these poles reconfigure into one pole at some point in a new location of the Earth. And I don't think it's going to be like we've seen before, where the poles just flip from north to south. We could even see these new poles end up in a completely new region. And I predict at that point we may even see a rotational shift. I'm talking physical rotational shift of the rotational axis of this planet at that point. Like I say, I don't believe the Arctic region, the magnetic poles and the rotational axis is all in the same vicinity for just mere coincidence. I think when we really find out more about planetary mechanics, we're going to see that all these things play a part with each other. You know, we should be accredited for the work we've done with the magnetic north. Some of these larger organisations should come out and say, that we've done a fantastic job in covering the pole migration to date, because we have told people why the magnetic North Pole is starting to show more activity. It's because simply the poles are tearing apart over the northern hemisphere. There is actually 4 magnetic poles on this planet right now, and none of these organisations have come out and said this. They've talked about the regions where the intensity of the magnetic field are in 2 different places over the northern hemisphere, one in Canada and one in Siberia, but they've not came out and connected the dots like what we have and showed people that the magnetic North Pole, according to our compass, is not either over Siberia or in Canada. It's in between the 2, and that is conclusive evidence, guys. They've not come out and told people this. I don't even know whether they are aware of what's going on over the North Pole to the same level as what we are at the Mavstar Observatory. We seem to be ahead of the game, in telling people 4 months before either, any of these organisations have came out and told anybody what's going on. We've not only told them, we've actually showed them why the behaviour is what it is. So if we read this article, it says something strange is going on at the top of the world. Earth's north magnetic pole has been skittering away from Canada towards Siberia. Driven by liquid iron sloshing within the planet's core, the magnetic pole is moving so quickly that it has forced the world's magnetism experts into a rare move. On the 15th of January, they are set to update the World Magnetic Model, which describes the planet's magnetic field and underlines all modern navigation, from the systems that steer ships at sea to Google Maps on smartphones. So they're going to update the model. I know that due to a government shutdown that this has been postponed now till the end of the month. So, shall we see how accurate they are in predicting where the magnetic North Pole is? That is, if they dare to do that. So based on our data that we collect, I will show you the GPS coordinates of where the magnetic pole is right now, and when they release it at the end of the month, let's see if their equipment is as accurate as ours. Let's see if they match what data we've got. So let's do that right now on Google Earth. So guys, the latitude and longitude of the magnetic North Pole in 2019 is at 84 degrees north by longitude 131 degrees east. So when they release their update on the magnetic world map, let's see where they put the magnetic North Pole for 2019. Let's see how close they are to the data that we've got, and let's see what else they also do with regards to further predicting where it's going to be for the next 5 years, as they do. But you've got to remember this, guys, is the coordinates that I'll just give you in longitude and latitude is neither one of the poles that are over the northern hemisphere at the moment. It is just the location of where your compass will point, and that is in between the 2 regions of both poles. It is neither one of them. And that's what we're interested in tracking right now, the movement of the intensity in that region, which is where our compasses are pointing at the moment. So just bear that in mind. The longitude and latitude of the poles would be over 1, Canada, and 2, Siberia. So just bear that in mind. This is something that the organisations aren't telling you. Guys, the work and the effort, and it has been a massive effort over these years to, arrive at the conclusions that we have with evidence that we've provided should warrant, a Nobel Prize. It really should. But these organisations are never going to give it the credit because they believe, that they're the authority on all these things. And if any Nobel Prize go anywhere, it's going to go to somebody in these organisations and not to an observatory like ours. It's the sad reality we live in this day and age, where if you're not part of their organisation, then you are not part of the scientific community that is credit worthy. But guys, you can support our observatory and our efforts here. You can make a donation and help us keep doing what we do. As you can see, we are well ahead of the game, and we're giving them a good run for their money, despite the fact we don't have anywhere near the budget that they have. We are well ahead of them in the fact that we spotted the changes in the magnetic North Pole 4 months ago, and I don't think there's been another observatory that has covered so much on this topic and brought it to so many people's attention. So, if you want to make, a contribution to that, guys, the link's down there, and I'll catch up with you towards the end of the week with another update on what's happening with the magnetic North Pole and its migration. And it really is a topic that's worth following because of its rarity. And with that, guys, I'll say what I usually do. Bye for now.
So real quick, I got to search for who